This one got 38.6 million views. And this is a woman talking about going to watch Oppenheimer with her husband. And there is a nude scene in Oppenheimer, I believe, between Cillian Murphy and Florence Pugh. And she was trying to navigate the idea of this with her husband. I'll let her tell you.
I research everything before we watch it, but especially this movie, obviously I heard about it. Yes, we wanted to see it. It has an amazing rating. We prepared ourselves. I didn't know when the scene was going to happen, and I also didn't understand how the scene was happening. I thought it was just several minutes straight of, but it wasn't. It was actually broken up into, like, it would do a flash of that, and then it would do a flash of normal life.
And when she pauses out, she means nudity between the two characters.
Life, and then it would do a flash of the scene, and then it was like very, back and forth. So it was really difficult to avoid it. But obviously my husband and I talk about everything. If we go anywhere or we go see anything, even if it's a concert, movie, an event, we have a game plan. We talk about things like, what if you get triggered? What if I get triggered? Really, the problem isn't what if you get triggered. The problem is what if I get triggered, because I don't want my night to be ruined by being triggered by something on a screen. So essentially, what we did was, when the scene came up, when things were happening, he literally closed his eyes and laid his head on my shoulder. Like, if this is my shoulder, like this is my shoulder, he like this. And then I would just like let him know whenever it was over. And it literally, I will tell you what right now, took nothing away from the story. Him not looking at the screen during did not change the storyline, did not change anything. Have a plan and talk about it before you go.
I have much to say about this. This went crazy viral. Everybody was bullying this couple. They're saying,
this is insane.
How are you triggered by watching a woman's breast on a movie?
How is it that you are so sensitive to this that you can't even watch a normal adult movie with your husband and he needs to bury his face in your shoulder? And
blah, blah, blah. They came after her and her husband. Come to find out, when you sprinkle a little bit of context into the situation, her husband had a porn addiction. So they thought, this is the best way to navigate this. When you go to the movies, maybe you don't watch nudity. And in that light into the situation for a lot of people, they went, oh, I guess I understand. That could be a trigger for somebody with an addiction. Just like if you formerly loved to do coke off the bathroom floor, you probably wouldn't go watch The Wolf of Wall Street.
It's called cocaine.
Right? So these are the things that they were trying to navigate within their relationship. And she decided, we'll go see the movie. He covers his eyes, whatever. You know what? That's fine. People do whatever they want to do. I just want to talk about how quickly the response came to this. Let's remove the addiction from the storyline here. Pornography in films is not normal. It is something that has very, very recently happened within like Hollywood and entertainment, that we are watching people like be naked and do things that couples do. For all the young people watching, we won't get too into detail about that, but it's not a normal thing to have been in TV. And now it feels like every program that is ever put on TV has like softcore pornography in it, which is kind of wild. And from what I hear about this movie, I have not yet seen Oppenheimer. This is a pretty extensive scene that happens over the course of like 15 minutes or something like that. So to me, it's not abnormal to maybe not want to see that. And if you are willing to admit that maybe pornography does not have the best effect on minds, and especially young men in particular, and seeing all this stuff on any given day is not particularly healthy, why would you bully somebody who doesn't want to see that when they go to the movie theater? Doesn't make sense. I get how in today's time that might be something that's sensitive because it's literally everywhere. Like there's nudity everywhere. There's a naked picture of freaking Doja Cat on all over the walls here in LA for her new album, just like out in public. And now it's been normalized. But if it's not normal for other people, that's okay. And you know what? I'm no stranger. I watch like Game of Thrones and HBO shows and all that, and they have some of the craziest stuff in those shows. But if I met somebody who's like, yeah, I like to shield my eyes when that stuff comes up. It's not something that I feel like is healthy for me. It's not something that I really want to go out of my way to watch. I'd be like, yeah, dude, that totally makes sense. I wouldn't be like, you're such a freak. You're such a freak for not wanting to see these random actresses nude on your television screen. Makes no sense.
Yeah, I think it just speaks to how
hypersexualized and desensitized we've become in our in this cultural moment. Like, I think if a couple wanted to go on TikTok and shared all of their weird kinks and fetishes and graphic detail and talk, in depth about that and what they do in the bedroom or whatever, or what turns them on when they see what they like to watch to turn them on, that would not go nearly as viral as does a couple who says, we want to deal with this porn addiction and we don't want to be triggered, or we want to have a game plan when we're entering into a situation like that. Somehow that is the most mind-blowingly prudish thing ever, that it goes absolutely viral all over the internet. And yet there's no limit to just how graphic or debased you can be when it comes to sexuality in today's time. And I think that's just telling about the moment that we're in. Is really interesting that this just took off. And I get it, like, it is kind of like on a surface level, if you don't have the full context, it's definitely sounds weird and sounds maybe excessive, but at the same time, when on the flip side, there's just no limit to how excessive you could be, it seems. It does highlight, I think, a little bit of asymmetry.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy to me that, like, people are looking at this couple and going, like,
it's so weird that you don't want to see another woman's boobs on TV, and you don't want to see her, like, engaging in this sort of stuff with another man on TV.
No, it's not weird. Like, we've become the weird ones as a society that we allow this stuff to, like, happen. And of course, we're in that pendulum swing of what TV used to be like. If you're familiar with the show I Love Lucy, they were the first television show to ever show a pregnant woman on TV. And it was a massive scandal. The studio heads had gone back and forth. Do we show Lucy pregnant on this show? And they ended up making the decision in 1953. They got much pushback. A lot of people accepted it. A lot of people said, well, it's good to, like, depict motherhood. So there was a time where we were, like, prudish in nature when it came to television. I think it's totally normal to see a pregnant woman in real life, and thus should be normal to see a pregnant woman on TV. Is it normal to watch people engage in intercourse in real life? No. So should it be normal that you go to the movie theaters and you see a 15-minute scene of couples doing that? No, but it happens so often that we look at that couple and go,
you're disgusting. You're so weird for not wanting to see that. You guys are freaks.
I would just question that narrative for a second and do like a self-inventory on whether or not it's actually that weird. When we come from a time where, showing pregnant women was like something that was scandalous, and wrongfully so, right? But the pendulum has swung so far back in the other direction that now it's like, goodness gracious, leaving nothing to the imagination. There's freaking softcore porn and kid shows now. I remember watching things like Pretty Little Liars and stuff that's on Freeform that's meant to be for like a younger teenage audience, and some of the stuff they show in that show, I'm like, this is supposed to be for young teenagers? Like, what? We've moved so quickly in the other direction that we need to take stock of whether or not that is something that is healthy. And again, if you think pornography is unhealthy for the human mind, it's all over the TV.
It reminds me of how we talk about, like, forced diversity in films. It's like, if something reflects reality and it's believable and it doesn't stand out as like, okay, wait, this feels a little bit forced, then you're watching a good story. It's true to life and it resonates. But whenever it's all this forced stuff jammed in there, then you start to think, okay, wait, is there an agenda here? Is there trying to engineer this? Do they have a motive? The same holds true when it comes to like excessive sexual content in TV and movies. It's like there's a degree to which you can include romance and even sexuality in movies, and it makes sense because it's advancing the plot. It sort of brings the story to life and as much as it needs to, but there definitely comes a point where it's like you're just doing this to sort of appeal to people's lustful inclinations or to be sort of scintillating or provocative or whatever it may be. And at that point, you have to sort of question the motive, and it's like, why are we okay with this? I think that's a perfectly fair question to ask.
Right, yeah. I watched all of Euphoria. I thought there was some really great writing, some really good story arcs, but the amount of seemingly blatant pornography that was in that TV show was astounding. And when you think about the age demographic of who was watching that show primarily, you're talking like high school, college, some even younger than high school watching that show. The stuff that they were watching, that blows my mind. And I mean, I'm talking full frontal nudity. You can see everything in that show. We've just quickly moved in the direction that this is okay. And that's how normal it is becoming. So yeah, this couple's not weird. And when you add in and mix in the whole addiction narrative with her husband, makes even more sense that you wouldn't want to watch something like that, and that maybe he would bury his head in her shoulder. So let's put that to rest, I think.